1990, gearing up to record its 5th album, Metallica finally found a producer the band would come to value highly, veteran studio whiz Bob Rock.
One of the first things Bob Rock ever said to me when I met him 5 or 6 years ago in Vancouver was, you guys have never made a record that sounds like you sound when you play live.
Let's don't do a yeah at the end. Do something else. Womo.
Right.
Okay.
Child.
Fire womo.
Something's wrong, something like heavy thoughts tonight, and the honest way.
I think we kind of all fessed up to the fact that we just needed to bring somebody else into our tightly knit organization and work with us in the studio.
The typical Bob Rock scenario is me showing up and playing guitar, and him looking at me and saying, "Come on, man." And I'll look at him and say, "What?" And he goes, "You're much better than that. Come on. You don't want to put that on an album."
Remember what I said about guitar players that don't do their homework? Remember that.
Hey man, I do my homework. I do, man. It just doesn't work.
The resulting record, officially called Metallica, unofficially the Black Album, was unveiled at a fan listening party at New York's Madison Square Garden. And it was a smash, going to #1 and finally winning a Grammy Award for Best Metal Album.
Let's see, I think the first thing we got to do is, obviously, like you guys were expecting, is we got to thank Jethro Tull for not putting out an album this year, right?
I knew we had a really good record, and I knew that it was going to do well. I would never in a zillion years think that 5 years later it's still hovering in the top 100 and selling, you know, whatever X thousand copies that we. I mean, who just bought the Black Album last week?
The longevity, that's cooler to me than being on top for 5 minutes, really hanging out and still being relevant, and for some reason people are still buying the damn thing.
The unending popularity of the Black Album wound up keeping Metallica on the road for 2 whole grueling years.
Hey, I'm your life, I'm the one who takes you there. Hey, I'm your life, I'm the one who cares.
If you at gunpoint forced me to name one gig that stands out, I'd probably say the gig we did in Moscow in 1991. This was just elevated one step more than anything I've ever seen of us, and working with an audience, and it was that whole experience was truly amazing.
After cranking out some 400 shows, the members of Metallica decided to take a whole year apart from each other before starting work on Load.
The sound on this record seems to indicate sort of a happier group. Do you feel happier than you were 15 years ago?
I don't know about happier.
Less unhappy.
Maybe.
Has the songwriting process changed?
The actual songwriting process hasn't changed that much. It's still me and James who sit with the material. It's still me and James who put the songs together, the basic arrangements, everything like that. I think this time around we ended up using more stuff of Kirk's.
All the white-head stones and rose like Georgia cotton.
Let's play Guess Who's Not in the Room. Bob!
Producer Bob Rock was back on board for Load, of course, and Metallica itself was a changed band, rested, mature, and operating now with a new, more democratic spirit.
It's like a band, you know? It's very weird, you know? Yeah, Lars and I back off a little and let them take a little control, you know, over their own, you know, parts.
They kind of let down the guard a little bit and maybe let a little bit more responsibility go to the other cats in the band, Kirk and myself, and let us be able to, you know, voice our opinions and really show our stuff this time.
I mean, we're really doing everything backwards. Do you know? I mean, most people they start as a band and then a couple guys take over and then everybody blows up. But we kind of you know, started with a couple of guys running the show, and then it becomes a band, and now it's like a tighter thing than it's ever been before. It's kind of weird.
Not only is Load a major stylistic step for Metallica, but so is the band's choice of a venue to promote it, as headliners on the earnestly alternative Lollapalooza tour.
We're going to reach a lot of folks that we didn't before, and gain some respect from some people that we didn't before, and we're real happy with the songs. We're real proud of them, and that's going to make a big dent in a lot of people that maybe had their doubts, and that makes me happy too.
Musically, I think we're in a position right now where we could go anywhere and people would not necessarily maybe like it, but at least respect it. And I think that that's important, and at least understand that we have a desire to keep pushing the boundaries, and the only thing that will limit us will be our own imaginations.